Let me use this opportunity to commiserate with all the victims and families of the bereaved in the tanker explosion that happened in Niger State. It was very unfortunate and it's still very regrettable. And about 98 persons have been confirmed dead. The response of government to this tanker explosion actually typifies the level of insensitivity of our leaders to the plight of the people and the insensitivity of our leaders to their response to natural disasters. I'll give you an example. Joe Biden was to visit Italy as the last country before departing office. And because of the fire in California, he canceled the visit. The mayor of Los Angeles attended the swearing-in ceremony of the president of Ghana. Immediately she learned of the fire incident in California, she rushed back. In Nigeria, and ironically, because of the response to the natural disaster of the fire that consumed whole cities, 16 persons died. Fire that occurred in 5 different places in California. I must have to say that I'm still going to take it up with United States government because they named one of the fire Kenneth Fire. It's unacceptable to me. Next time when they have natural disaster, they shouldn't name it Kenneth. That's by the way. 16 persons died. It warranted the President of the United States canceling his visit, the mayor rushing back to take charge. In Nigeria, tanker explosion. Just one tanker exploded. 98 persons died. Many are still injured in the hospital. Just look at the ratio and you will know the difference between a responsive and responsible government and an insensitive and irresponsible government. One tanker exploded, 96 died, 98 died. 5 fires broke out in one of the largest cities in the world, and 16 persons died. And it warranted the president to cancel his trip, the mayor rushing back, the governor, all of them were at the spot. And the 16 persons died because they refused to obey the orders of the government that asked that they should evacuate, making the government to forcefully evacuate the remaining people and forcefully stop them from coming back until the fire is completely under control. Now in Nigeria, the tanker started leaking fuel. And the government already knew the disaster because it has happened in October. It happened somewhere in Jigawa. And there was no security agency. There was no government to condone off the place to make sure that people do not come near the place. Because they know that because of desperation of people, because of poverty and hardship, they will always think that particular case and incident will be different. So they think they can scoop fuel. A liter will give them 1,000 naira or more. And they may not have eaten for the past days. And there was no government there to ensure that that place is condoned off. And then the tanker exploded and 98 persons died. Where was your president when it happened? 40 persons were killed, 40 farmers in Borno within the same time. 6 soldiers killed in Borno, 5 soldiers killed by the Lakurawa in the northwest, And your president, first of all, attended the swearing-in ceremony of the president of Ghana. And from there, as he's landing, with all these natural disasters, he jetted out to Abu Dhabi. One would have thought that the other remaining high-level officials would take charge. The vice president jetted out to Davos on purported trade investment fora, and people are dying, being incinerated by fire, and there was no leadership to address the situation. You know why? In genuine democracy, the focus of the government is on the people. That's why democracy has three aspects: government of the people, government by the people, government for the people. People, people, people. People-oriented government. When you sit at the table, if you are in a genuine democracy, what you think about is the people. That is what is the variable on the table. But in Nigeria, what the leaders have on their table when they are making decisions is power and money. They are men of power. They are men of money, but never men of the people. And so they don't care. If the people are dying, let them die. Once they can make all the money that they want, once they can travel in the whole world with their ill-gotten wealth and their profligacy in new presidential jets, men of power, as long as they keep feeding themselves and their immediate families with power, they don't care what happened to the people. Men of money, as long as they use every opportunity they have to accumulate more money, they never consider the people. There is no sensitive government that has people in mind that will ever have the president and the vice president out of the country at a time where more than 100 persons have died on the instant because of natural disaster. So we have a government that is a disaster on its own. Our government is natural disaster on its own. So when other disasters are happening, it's just part of the disaster. We are not in a democracy. We are simply in a civilian dictatorship. And that is why they don't care. I can tell you that what the president and the vice have done, the kind of insensitivity that is displayed within this period, is capable of removing a president in office in another clime where the people are the consideration. In South Korea, an impeached president that has not been removed from office, they declared him wanted by the police, and they wanted to arrest him. And his own supporters wanted to wage war because they felt, no, he has not been removed from the office. The president himself said, no, I will submit myself, because if I don't, it will lead to bloodshed, which will kill people. He was thinking about the people. But we have leaders who will think about themselves, think about their pockets. Men of power, men of their pockets, not men of the people. We need men of the people to govern us in this country.
What are your thoughts on the civilian casualties in Zamfara State due to military bombardment?
You know, the issue of what happened in Zamfara State is very regrettable. Recall that the governor came out and said it was a mistake. And the governor said that the military are doing their utmost best. And in fairness to the military, you can agree with me that the security situation in Zamfara is improving. And the governor also confessed that within that same location and area, that the military confronted the terrorists just within days, so that it was reasonable for the military seeing anything from the air to assume that it must have been the military. And then it was reasonable for the military to assume that it could be terrorists if they are seen from the air. This is from the governor, because the military, that place has been a flashpoint, and the military has been encountering terrorists. So when the issue happened, the military will always tell you that at times they will target legitimate targets, and then secondary explosions, maybe from the weapons of the terrorists, will explode and then hit other targets. That's what you call collateral damage, unintended damage, when a military is targeting a legitimate target. It happens all over the world. Let me use the opportunity to commiserate with the victims. The truth is that it's because of those innocent ones that the military are even risking their lives to protect. So there's no way the military would have started targeting innocent ones when the whole reason that they are attacking the terrorists is actually to protect the innocent ones. So the military should be more careful to reduce collateral damage. And let me use the opportunity to thank them for the good work they are doing for our country. May God bless all of them. May God protect our troops.
What do you think about the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, denying his Igbo ancestry?
Well, you see, the issue of the FCT minister denying his Igbo ancestry is actually very amusing. I've seen the FCT minister, for instance, raising his hand and vowing during the presidential primary of PDP that whoever emerges from this primary as the presidential candidate, that I vow to support the person. He later on supported Tinubu in the presidential election after the vow. And he started saying, no, it's because he's from the South. And then I was asking myself then, when you were making the vow, were you not aware that you had some northern candidates that were contesting? You contested with them. When you were making the vow, did you say, I vow that if any southern candidate emerged from this convention, I'm going to support the southern candidate? Is it, if any person, if anybody emerges, I vow, use the word vow, to support the person? I saw him also vowing he will never say anything against all the leader will make him to cry. But the things he's saying about all the leader is even making all the leaders followers to scream. Then you can imagine all the leader himself. I saw him also vow that once he leaves office, he will leave his successor to have peace and will not come to disturb him. That is not the kind of person that disturbs his successor. His successor is the most disturbed successor in the whole Nigeria. So he has made a lot of vows which he had recanted. So if you don't like what the FCT minister is saying, just be patient. He will soon change. But let me talk about the issue of ancestry. Nobody chooses where he comes from. It's God that determines where you come from. That is one. Then secondly, the basis of nationhood from the ancient time is language. If you recall the Bible from the Tower of Babel, when God wanted to create nations out of the unipolar world, then he said, let us go and scatter their language. So when God did it, you discover that people now who understood each other, what they were speaking, now aggregated and became part of one nation. So it is language that determines your nationhood. Ikwere is Igbo, 100%. Ikwerego na Chineke dị mma. Ikwere. Wike means Wike, because in Igbo land, some dialects use the word Wike. If you remember, the former Senate president is Adolphus Wagbara. So it's dialectical. Nyesom is Igbo. So by virtue of language, Ikwere is Igbo. And it is not, it is in his constitutional right to say he does not want to identify as Igbo. That's his constitutional right. But he cannot say he's not Igbo. Because by language, by tribe, he is Igbo and he doesn't have a choice about it. And again, if a Wike that is just a politician talks about Igbo, and the president of Ohanese, who happens to be an Ikwere man, Senator Azoka Mbata, talks on what concerns Igbo. And then Wike's own political leader, who is Fubara, because the PDP concern is very clear. Once somebody is a governor, he is the leader of the state. If Fubara had welcomed Senator Azoka Mbata as the president of Ohanese, who is from Ikwere, I would rather believe these people because they have the political and cultural right to say where Ikwere people are from. And then from their language, Azoka, the back is strong. It is pure Igbo. However, like I said, it is a man who has complex that is even making his nationality an issue. I tell you something. At times, I go to church to give thanks to God for the honor and privilege of making me an Igbo man. You know why? Ndị Igbo are one of the rare gem in the whole world that can create their way out of any problem they are in. After the war, they were given 20 pounds. Before 10 years after the war, they are already the richest wherever they are, adding value, creativity. 22 years after the war, we were already creating living in bondage in Igbo, somewhere in Lagos, that has started in Hollywood, that is ranking about the second now in the whole world. Creativity, which is a gift from God. Before the war, you always hear about Igbo man. An Igbo man will sit down, and whenever he has any issue, he creates his way out of the problem. Do you know that since the Igbos were purged out of the civil service of Nigeria, out of the leadership from the highest quarters, Nigeria has never recovered from it. The best time of Nigeria was before the Civil War. And then the Igbos were in charge of practically majority of the sectors in Nigeria. So what I'm telling you is that I thank God. I always ask God, what have I done for you to give me the privilege to be an Igbo man? And you can see it because he has given me all the faculties, mental and physical, to survive without governmental assistance. Pure creativity. So Ndi Igbo are not looking for people to be Ndi Igbo. Ndi Igbo are already grateful to God that they are made to be Ndi Igbo. Ikwere people are the ones who rightly identified themselves as Igbo, rightly indicated interest to be president of Ohanese, and Ndi Igbo from the southeast, knowing that they are our brothers. One thing you can't find in the DNA of an Igbo man is segregation. No. Because by nature he's a traveler, he is a trader. And these two natural traits demand that you welcome everybody from wherever they come from. I'm sure that even if Yoruba and Hausa want to say they have become Igbo tomorrow, Igbos will still accept them and all of us will be one. That is just it. So when you say Wike is saying, don't be surprised if you go to him privately, with his voice. mechana da onye gwa gị na mabụrụ Igbo ị ka mbụrụ Igbo ị ka mbụrụ onye Igbo ị rapụ ihe politics a ị mụrụ na ihe politics ị ka mbụrụ onye Igbo hapụ ya. You'll be surprised that's what he will say. So Wike is Igbo, or let me say Ikwere is Igbo, but Wike has the right, just like he has done before, to say he does not want to identify as Igbo. That's his fundamental human right. But if you don't like it, just be patient. He will soon change. Ekare abụrụ onye Igbo.
React to the alarming situation in Edo State, where thugs and non-state actors are intimidating plaintiffs at the election tribunal, while the police do nothing.
You see why I'm always shouting about rule of law? Rule of law is very, very important. The principle that says every action shall be done in accordance with the law. I was alarmed when the gubernatorial candidate, one Ajaka, who contested to be governor in Kogi State, right there in Supreme Court, himself and his supporters were molested. Some of them, they even stoned him right there in the Supreme Court, even after judgment. The security agencies must realize that they swore to uphold the Constitution, and they must realize our politicians come and go, but they are civil servants. The way they act as if they are providing cover for the ruling party. What is happening in Edo State is very, very concerning and unfortunate. We must learn to respect the institution of the court. The court is a hallowed ground. When we were young, even when we go to the court on Sunday when nobody is there, we're scared to go into the court. Even if it is with a thatched roof. But now, we're throwing decorum to the air. Security agencies must live up to their job. You see, Edo's issue is a testimony of where we are now in our electoral jurisprudence. First of all, the electoral governance in this country under Professor Mahmoud Yakub has become the worst in the history of Nigeria. What happened in Edo State? Despite the fact that everybody was warning that there are some entrenched interests that have their own relatives as appointees of INEC, what a responsive, independent, autonomous agency would have done was to remove those people that are obvious relatives to people that have vested interest in the outcome of the case. No, but they didn't do it. They allowed them to go into the election. And after, we saw how mutilated results. We saw how results were even artificially delayed and after manufactured to be fed into the IRF portal. One non-governmental organization, Athena Insights, by Osita Chidoka, he said even the back end of beavers has been tampered with. That anybody who, after seeing what happened in those states, say he wants to go and contest election under this atmosphere is mad. Meaning our electoral system is dead. He said any court, according to their findings, that see all these things and do nothing, then something is wrong somewhere. Then again, you saw how the plaintiffs or the complainants or the petitioners in that case, after the election. They had to go into protest to even receive the documents from INEC. Meanwhile, the law is clear that after the election, any person who wants to have a copy of whatever happened, that INEC must give them all. Yet, then now they are in court. People are being intimidated. Whether it is the ruling party that is being intimidated or the PDP, it is the duty of the security agencies to apprehend those people and bring them to justice. So we are gradually getting to a point where the electoral administration is ineffective and the judicial adjudication is jaundiced. If we're not careful, then we are actually trying to use our own hands to destroy the Fourth Republic, because anything outside the sovereign will of the people being recognized and given effect to during elections is not democracy. Democracy is the government instituted by elections. People express their sovereignty through elections, electing their leaders. Election is the first pillar of democracy. Without election, there is no democracy. Or there cannot be democracy without election. So sitting down and writing results and then frustrating people from seeking justice from the court is the clear respite for electoral disaster and the termination of our democracy. If democracy is terminated, it will not pay anybody any good. So the people must also rise up and stop being docile. I thought they were saying Edo no be Lagos. Now wow. Edo don't become Lagos. Edo is now in the pocket of Lagos. So if Edo people know how to turn back the person they turn back and root at the back of the person, Edo no be Lagos, they should live up to the true meaning of that.
So, what are the implications for democracy, and what actions should the president do?
First and foremost, it is really very disheartening that people should be calling the president to come and do something in a democracy, because the president is a partisan politician. So if you're calling him to come in to help you, especially when you're in the opposition, can't you see how faulty your mental reasoning is? Is it the president that assured them he was going to give them a do before even election? Is it the person you want to rely on to come and help you? That means digging your collective political grave. I've said it. The way forward in a democracy is that the opposition must rise up and be united, including members of the ruling party. In South Korea, when the president of South Korea declared martial law, his own party joined the opposition to take him out because he became a threat to democracy. Any president who does anything whatsoever to manipulate election, he's a felon. He is a man who is the person actually that is rigging election. In other words, he is the president that is embarking on a civilian coup to bring about a government in a way not anticipated or stipulated by the Constitution, to bring a group of people to govern Nigeria or any part of it, not in accordance with the Constitution. Do you think a president cannot be a treasonable felon? No, it's happening in South Korea now. So any president that brings himself out to help any agency to rig election, the people must rise up and enforce the law against that president. That is the only way democracy can survive. Eternal vigilance is the price we have to pay for being in a democracy. It is foolishness on the part of the opposition to be calling on the president to come and help you. The president that is a partisan hawk, the president that is a member of a political party, the president that has assured his followers he was going to deliver a dough to them, then you're calling him to come and help you. You will be there forever. Power is not given The president himself told all of us that power is not served a la carte. You snatch it, fight for it, you grab it, you run away with it. What will the opposition do? Good. They have to organize themselves. That when the president and his people want to come and snatch their victory, they will finish them there. There is no other way out. The law gives you the power to liquidate any person that wants to carry a queue in Nigeria. And rigging election is one of the queues. So people rise up to enforce the law on anybody, including the president. During the regime of Buhari, what did Buhari say? Anybody caught carrying ballots or snatching ballot box, the person should be wasted. That was what Buhari said. So what are you? And Festus Keyamo then came out to defend it. Buhari was not saying it as the president, no, because he was also a candidate. He was saying it as the citizen of Nigeria. Time has come when the people will rise up. Stop looking up to the president. He is a partisan politician. He has his own party. His loyalty is to his party. Organize yourselves and enforce the law on everybody, including the president. The members of the party of the president, you want to support him, to help him rig election, to help him snatch power, to help him run away with it. One day you will disagree with him. Is it not Senator Alindume that said Tinubu's government is the government of the worst of us and the government of desperate thieves? That's Senator Alindume, the chief whip. He says it's the government of kakistocrats and kleptocrats. So time will come when they will be snatching your own powers in the primary election. All you that are opposing the president, be rest assured, because it happened in Obasanjo's regime. I saw it. Gali Naba, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, he opposed Obasanjo, the same party. When the election came, they made sure that they did not even give him ticket at the primary. So this is the time for all of us to come together as citizens of Nigeria to enforce the laws of Nigeria, including electoral laws, on everybody, including the president. If the president rigs election, Oshomole was the one who launched one man, one vote. Look at what's happening in Edo State. Even by the launcher of one man, one vote. We must go back to that philosophy that we should be governed by the will of the people, which is elections, free, fair, credible, periodic, and verifiable election. That's the only way out.
What's your reaction to Abure's recent appeal court victory affirming him as Labour Party chairman?
First and foremost, the courts did not affirm any victory or grant any victory to Abure. The court said they don't have jurisdiction to entertain the matter. That's all. So when Abure and his cohorts are saying the court has affirmed the leadership of Abure, no, something is wrong somewhere. Something is wrong with the electoral jurisprudence. Something is wrong with the Abure and his cohorts. Now, let me tell you, legally speaking, jurisdiction is the power of the court to determine a matter. So the court does not have jurisdiction, then the matter is dead. Any judgment that comes out of the matter, no matter how articulate by the judge, is a nullity. It goes to no issue. That is what jurisdiction is talking about. It is fundamental. So when a court say, no, this case came to this court, and this court has no jurisdiction to entertain it, it means the case is dead like dodo. Abure was the one who went to court. So what it means is that his case going to court is dead like dodo. So Abure did not get any victory, and they know it. But here is the abracadabra. The Court of Appeal now, strangely though, said they are importing another case, which they settled in 2024, November. And they are importing it to replace the case before them. And that the judgment of that imported case is now going to be used to replace the judgment that is before them. That is illegal. That is unknown to law. You do not import another case and use it to replace a case that is not existing. In other words, you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. You courts, you have already said this case is nothing, because that's what jurisdiction means. Then you cannot say you are importing another case to put on that case you have said is nothing and expect it to stand. No, it will collapse. 0/1 or 0 over any number is 0. 1/0 or any number over 0 is still 0 or infinity. So the Court of Appeal did a kind of judicial abracadabra by saying that the judgment that they gave on so and so day stands. Let me now tell you the abracadabra. If that judgment, which they say they gave in 2024, is similar to this case, what it means is that if they don't have jurisdiction in this case, then they will not have jurisdiction in that case if they are the same, if they are similar. Isn't it funny? How can you say you don't have jurisdiction in this one? Because you said when it comes to the leadership of a political party, the court does not have jurisdiction. And then you said you tried the leadership of this political party in this other case. Why would you now go to that other case and have jurisdiction if you don't have jurisdiction in this present one? So it means that they are not similar. Because if they are similar, then the same judgment on this will go to that. So that's one abracadabra. That is one contradictory statement. Then the second contradictory statement is that in law, you do not import another case to substitute a case before you. You rather apply the legal principle in that other case to the case before you if they are of similar facts. Because they are made up of different parties. So there's no way you can come and say, I am using a Biseni's case to come and give Nenadi as the judgment for Nenadi. That is ridiculous. Indeed, it is very ridiculous. The leadership case that they handled before was a Chief Ebiseni case. How can you come to a Senator Nenadi's case and tell Senator Nenadi that the judgment I gave in Ebiseni is now your judgment? Nenadi will say, no, sorry, I am not Ebiseni. I came with my own case. So since you have said that Abure does not have jurisdiction, Abure's tenure is over. So it is another abracadabra that a court of appeal is saying the judgment they had in another case is now the judgment they are maintaining in a case where they don't have jurisdiction. So it's contradictory. The court of appeal cannot approbate and reprobate. No. So as it stands now, Abure has lost because he went to court and court told him, we don't have jurisdiction to entertain your case. So what is the situation? The situation is that the Labour Party, through its neck, had appointed a caretaker committee when INEC itself, the supervisory agency to political parties, indicated that Abure's regime is over because he did not organize any convention known to law. The Chief Ebiseni's case has nothing to do with the convention. Chief Ebiseni's case was talking about the gubernatorial struggle between candidates in Ondo State. So about the leadership of Labour Party, the court has said that Abure went to court when the court does not have jurisdiction. So his case is a nullity. So what happened now is that the decision of INEC that the regime of Abure has ended stands, because that is what took Abure to court. When Abure went to court, the caretaker committee was not even established then. They came in along the line, and that's why they came in by joinder. So what it means is that The proclamation by INEC that Abure's regime is over stands. There is no court that has nullified it, because that's what, and the reason Abure went to court, and the court say we don't have jurisdiction. So the Labour Party can pick up its pieces, but they have to be wary, because when courts start giving certain judgment, it will now become the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. I have said it before that the Labour Party under Abure has become a housemaid to APC. It could be that there was a phone call from the corrupt table of APC that is trying to corrupt everything and trying to ensure that an Abure is maintained as the chairman of Labour Party to make the party unviable for any election. Labour Party under Abure is dead, like I said before, and will continue to die. You know, artificial human beings die many times before their death. It's only natural human beings that die once. So, Labour Party has the opportunity to utilize this particular axis. The court has said they don't have jurisdiction. Ebiseni's case is settled. Ondo gubernatorial election has come and gone. So this case has nothing to do with the case of Ebiseni. So what the Court of Appeal should do is either to, on their own, sue motu, repent, and exorcise that judgment that has nothing to do with their ruling and with their judgment, that they don't have jurisdiction. You don't have jurisdiction, you don't have jurisdiction. The case is dead. It's a nullity. Then let us move on with our lives. So Senator Nenad Usman, in my own opinion, remains the caretaker chairman of Labour Party. She should be allowed to come in, organize the ward, local government, state congresses, and then we'll organize our national convention and choose our national executives. Abure's regime is over. But you see, I even like what is going on in court. You know why? So that politicians will begin to learn that even if the Supreme Court gives an order and say you are the chairman and the people say they don't want you, your chairmanship is not viable. It will still end in shame. Politicians should learn that democracy is a system of government that flourishes within the concept of acceptance authority, not a formal authority. If people do not accept you as their leader in a democracy, resign and go. Your tenure is over. Abure's tenure is over because nobody in Labour Party accepts him as national chairman. So irrespective of the decision of the court, he should just go. Life does not end there. So Abure's tenure regime is over. And I'm saying this with or without court order, with or without decision of the court, because democracy is the government of the people. So if the members of Labour Party say, Abure, your tenure is over, and he wants to lord himself over using APC power, using judicial power, he will still go in disgrace and in shame. So, Labour Party, as far as I'm concerned, that judgment is in favor of Labour Party, in favor of the caretaker committee, and in favor of the progressives in Labour Party.
How can we fix the wounds in Nigerian politics?
The wounds in Nigerian politics are all self-inflicted. You have a ruling party that does not want to govern in accordance with the law. You have an opposition party that prefers to eat from the crumbs that fall from the corrupt table of the ruling party, rather than playing the part of the opposition, of questioning whatever is wrong from the ruling party. Even if the ruling party has its way, the opposition must ensure that it has its say. What people we used to work with is the say of the opposition. because the opposition is now the watchdog. In my own opinion, respectfully, the opposition as presently constituted is not doing it. On the day APC got some partisan people and got them approved as members of INEC, I just knew that there was no opposition because they came and took a bow and went. Do you know that you have more opposition members in the House of Rep than you have as APC members in the House of Representatives before some started backsliding back to APC? So the wound can be healed. Rule of law is the solution. Let everybody play according to the rules. Let the ruling party have the people as their focus, as their target audience when they are taking any decision. Let them be sensitive to the plight of the people so that their policies will be channeled towards the security and welfare of the people. Then let the opposition hold the ruling party accountable. Then let the people rise up and defend the true meaning of democracy. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Let the judiciary rise up and do justice. Human beings must always have disputes. Conflicts are natural. That's why you have the courts. The courts are the last hope of everybody. In a democracy where everybody is equal, the courts are the last hope of everybody. So let the courts live up to the true meaning of its name, the last hope of everybody. It's no longer the common man. You have seen very rich people needing the court to have justice. In democracy, it's the rich people that contest election most times. So it's the rich people that go to court to seek for justice. So the courts must live up to the true meaning of justice, being fair to everybody. And one of the tenets of rule of law is equal subjection of everybody to the law. So the wounds are healable. They can be healed. Separation of powers, legislature, checking the executive, oversighting the executive, ensuring that the laws that they made are being observed by the executive, ensuring that corruption, inefficiency, and waste in the executive are exposed for the people to be aware of what is happening and holding the executive accountable to the people. Then the executive, like I said, governing in accordance with the law, and the judiciary adjudicating and dispensing justice to all political parties, ensuring internal democracy that trumps up competent leaders that will govern the people. Then the people rejecting docility and becoming vigilant. That's the only way to guard democracy, enforcing the law on everybody, including the president.
What are your thoughts on the Kano Emirate leadership tussle?
You know, this issue of Kano State is worrisome because of the angle of the judiciary in it. I am not from Kano State, and I'm happy that the two emirs that are in question are all from the same descendant. They share the same father. So it's not an issue of siding anybody because I'm not from Kano State. They are from the same family. It's quite unfortunate that they are allowing politics to come in to divide them. What is happening in Kano State as it concerns the Emirate of Kano and the stool of the emir is political. And politics has no business with the traditional institution. It's supposed to be a sacred institution that is upholding the culture of the people. Now, I'm delving into it purely to bring out the legal implications of what has happened so far. I am aware that some time ago, that Emir Sanusi was chosen when it was the regime of Kwakwanso to be the Emir of Kano. I am aware that Ganduje came in, and Ganduje alleged that Emir Sanusi misconducted himself, queried him, and believed that he found him wanting, and then deposed him, and then banished him. I am aware that in the ancient days, whenever any emir is banished, or whenever any emir is dethroned, he is banished. Sanusi's own grandfather, or thereabout, that was an emir, he was dethroned and was banished. I'm also aware that when the Sultan of Sokoto, Dasuki, was dethroned, he was banished. And I'm aware that when Sanusi was banished, he went to court. And the court he went to was Federal High Court. He was banished based on the chieftaincy law and then the convention, because that has been the convention. And the Federal High Court assumed jurisdiction and rightly, in my own view, held that his fundamental rights were impinged on. And since the fundamental human right is a constitutional provision, it towers above the ordinary laws of the land. So it takes preeminence before the chieftaincy laws. But the point here I want to make is that what it meant was the Federal High Court had jurisdiction, even though the banishment stemmed from chieftaincy law. But because the substance of the issue was fundamental human right, the Federal High Court assumed jurisdiction, determined the case, and gave judgment in favor of Emir Sanusi, as though his fundamental human right that he's not supposed to be banished. So it was the Emir that asked that he doesn't mind staying away from Kano, but his freedom of movement should not be restricted. And I use the word rightly because the Supreme Court has held that the Federal High Court and the State High Court have concurrent jurisdiction on the issue of fundamental human rights. Having said that, I am aware that when this present governor came in, he seemed to be pro Sanusi, being a protege of Kwakwanso. So during Ganduje's time, the law, Kano State Emirate law, or thereabout, was amended, and they created more emirates from Kano. And when they created those emirates, I'm aware that Emir Sanusi still retained his position. So it was not the amendment of the law that removed Emir Sanusi. What that means is that you are expanding an emirate or you are shrinking it has nothing to do with the stool of the emir, because the stool of the emir was existing before even we had our independence. So shrinking the size of it by law or expanding it has nothing to do with the stool of the emir. That was why when Ganduje amended the law to create more emirates, Emir Sanusi still remained the emir of Kano. It was when Ganduje alleged that he misconducted himself and queried him that Ganduje now deposed him. Now, Ado Bayero was installed to become the emir of Kano. So when Governor Yusuf came, so I'm at a loss. Why that you amended the law to say the emirates that were created are no longer there, but the emirate of Kano is still there. So I'm at a loss why you should now go further to say that the stool of the emir of Kano is now affected by law, and then Ado Bayero should leave his seat. And you have not alleged any misconduct. and you have not queried him, then you even ordered his arrest at a certain point. And Adebayo went to court first on fundamental issues, which he went to Federal High Court. And in my own opinion, as a lawyer, the Federal High Court has jurisdiction to entertain the matter. And they gave him judgment. You can't arrest him. You can't, you must guarantee him his freedom of movement. These were almost exactly the same cases that Sanusi took to court. His freedom of movement, liberty, and the court granted it to him in Federal High Court, Abuja. So Adebayo himself went to Federal High Court, and the Federal High Court also granted him reliefs. And in my own case, he was not even granted a fair hearing because nobody accused him of any misconduct. Now, there was another case brought by one Alhaji, is it Aminu? Is it Ngodi or something? But is a Sakin Dawa Baba or something like that. He brought the case. He took it to the Federal High Court. Now, listen to that case. The judge granted an interim order saying every party should maintain status quo. An ex parte order pending the hearing of the motion on notice. Get the point now. During the pendency of the interim order, the governor of Kano State went ahead and installed the emir, as in Emir Sanusi, as the emir of Kano. Now, the judge now came back and said, because this order was subsisting when you installed the emir, you have breached the order of this court, which is against the law. Because the law is that any order or judgment of a court must be respected, no matter how perverse, except it is set aside on appeal or vacated by the court that gave the order. So the judge was simply saying that since you did not obey this order, all your actions are a nullity. They are not valid because they are against a subsisting order. The substance of the matter has not been tried. So I was thinking the governor ought to take a cue, obey the order, go back and say, okay, we acted in error. And then go back to the court, file a counter affidavit, and then see whether the court will vacate the order or go on appeal, knowing that all the things he has done about the Emir Sanusi is now a nullity, since it was done against a subsisting interim order. Hear the point now. I'm not talking about the substance or the substantive matter. A court has jurisdiction to determine whether it has jurisdiction. So when a court is in the process of determining whether it has jurisdiction, and you go ahead to tamper with the rest, which the court has already by order restricted everybody, every action that you undertake during the subsisting order is a nullity. So, meaning, strictly speaking by law, that every action that brought Emir Sanusi was a nullity since it was done against a subsisting order of court. Now, I'm at a loss how the Court of Appeal will now say they are quashing the judgments of the Federal High Court because the Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction. I believe as a lawyer that the Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction in the substance of the chieftaincy because it is a local issue. But the Federal High Court has jurisdiction to give an interim order, even if it has not talked about the substance. If I remember very well, the Federal High Court refused the plaintiff's plea to declare that law illegal. So the Federal High Court did not declare that law illegal. The Federal Court simply said that every act done when this order was in place, and I'm not talking about whether the order is right or wrong. No. I'm saying there is an order of court which the law says you must obey until either overruled by an appellate court or vacated by the court itself. So I think the Court of Appeal erred in law by saying the Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction, because I know that the Federal High Court has jurisdiction on fundamental matters, and I know that pending the decision by the Federal High Court whether it has jurisdiction, the Federal High Court has jurisdiction to give any order which restricts the parties to maintain status quo, pending for it to determine whether it has jurisdiction. And I know as a lawyer that any action that you carry out when there is a subsisting order of the court is void and a nullity. Here is the catch. I am not saying that the Federal High Court has jurisdiction to try matters under the state chieftaincy law. No. I am saying that if there is an order of a Federal High Court for parties to maintain status quo, pending whether the Federal High Court, pending when it determines whether it has jurisdiction, any act done within that time is void. Not because it did not, or whether it conforms with the state law or not, but because there is an existing order of court that was flouted. If you do not protect orders of court, the next thing is anarchy. So I think that's why I use the word political. So respectfully, I think in the eyes of the law, Emir Ado Bayero is still legitimately, or should be, in my own opinion, still be the Emir of Kano, pending the determination of the Supreme Court. I know that there's also a state judgment, a judgment from the state court, so which are contradictory. So the Supreme Court should take up this matter and realize the implication that if you now say that when you remove a community from the kingdom of a traditional ruler, that the traditional ruler has now lost his seat, then that what it means is that I can go to Onitsha and remove one little village from the Obi of Onitsha's kingdom and say that the law has nullified the seat of the Obi, or go to Ife and remove one kingdom, say I'm doing an amendment that this little village is no longer part of this Ife. Like when they divided states. When they divided states, the governors then did not lose their seat because they divided states. You appoint a new governor to the new state. So it's dangerous for you to say that you amended a law and then you removed some emirates from an existing kingdom, and you say for that reason that the emir has lost his seat. It is not tenable. So morally, legally, until Ado Bayero is alleged to have committed an offense or a crime against the traditional institution and tried and given fair hearing, for me, it will be an injustice and a bad precedent to remove an emir, to remove an oba, to remove an obi on the pretext that you amended the law and the kingdom was either enlarged or reduced. And then on that reason, a traditional ruler will lose his seat. It's a dangerous precedent. So for me, if Governor Yusuf has anything against Ado Bayero, he should bring it out openly, give him fair hearing. If he is found wanting, then you depose him in accordance with the law, then install a new emir. Anything short of that is an injustice and a dangerous precedent to the traditional institution. It could be an Oba tomorrow. It could be an Obi tomorrow. It could be an emir tomorrow. Whoever has not offended the law must not be punished by political consideration. You know, one of the things about rule of law is that you can punish somebody within the law, but you cannot punish somebody outside the law. So Adebayo, in my own opinion, has not offended any law. At least none has been told the world, and should be allowed to remain the emir of Kano.